Okay. See here. Okay. I'm going back a little bit because this thing died, and I'm going to be using this to give my attention to, because I feel that this video that I'm going to be talking to is going to be pulled off of YouTube, because again, when a blamer was at the UN blaming a YouTube video that was anti-Muhammad, using actually using the Hadith as reference, because there's a scene in Innocence of Muslims where an old lady is pulled apart, and her name is Kurfa, and that comes from the Hadith. Muhammad had her pulled apart because she was critical of him for slaughtering his village. Excuse me, slaughtering her village. Anyway, when he was at the UN, he said, make no mistake, there must be no future for those that would slander the Prophet of Islam. And you know what slandering the Prophet of Islam is? It's doing what I do, which is just exposing what's on, which is in the internet, which is in the Quran and the Hadith that you think is either evil or stupid. That's called slandering the Prophet of Islam. And according to a blamer, there's no future for me. So that means this video will probably be removed. So I'll use this one to bring my attention to. I'll direct my attention to. Okay, and I'll continue this right now here. By the way, now when I use my words, I'm using this side of my face. I'm using this side of my face for my words, and this side for the Muslims. Okay. All right. Let's see here. How's it going here? Yeah. The Hadith, as I said, doesn't contradict the verse. Aren't you supposed to do taqiyya, lie for Allah, and say that Sahih, authentic Muslim Hadith is actually not Sahih, but daif, weak? Or that some Jews paid Mr. Muslim money to say an embryo is a clot of blood for 40 days just to make Islam laughable? And even though it's Sahih, it actually isn't here? And the verse is clear. That's brave of you to admit that. That was proven by science, not by me. Where and when did science ever prove that embryos go through a blood clot stage? That is 40 days long. Where and when did they? When did science? You sure it's not the science of caveman times? So, who are you to tell me you know better than them? If you believe the Hadith is right about embryos going through a blood clot, by being blood clots for 40 friggin' days, I'd say most know better than you because, well, again, you do know what a blood clot is, don't you? The Arabic word can mean rich, and so it's like the Arabic word can mean earth is shaped like an ostrich egg. Well, if that is so, how come Sahih Authentic Muslim Book 33 blew it so much, going beyond just saying it's a blood clot, but saying it's a blood clot for 40 friggin' days? Again, the Hadith is misunderstood. What part of the constituents of one of you are collected for 40 days in his mother's womb in the form of blood, after which it becomes a clot of blood in another period of 40 days? What is that? What part of that do you not understand? I mean, really, What part of constituents of one of you are collected for 40 days in his mother's womb in the form of blood, after which it becomes a clot of blood in another period of 40 days? You know, what do you not understand? What is there to misunderstand here? What? Well, and it's saying in that 40 days, not so 40 plus 40 plus 40. Oh? So somewhere after 40 days, it's of being blood, it then becomes a blood clot? Really? Wow. When is an embryo even just blood? Never. And Mo said it was blood for 40 days, and then you say after 40 days, it will in another 40 days become a blood clot? You've got to be joking. But all these stages are in the same 40. Really? How do you get that with the constituents of one of you are collected for 40 days in his mother's womb in the form of blood? After. Did you get that? After? Yeah. What comes to your mind when you hear or read after? After, which becomes a clot of blood in another period of 40 days. So somewhere in 41 or 79 days, being that it's between 40 days, that blood will become a blood clot? Really? Man. Then it becomes a lump of flesh, and 40 days later, what was that? Then 40 days later, 40 days later, after being a blood clot, all it sends is angel, as it says, and then it's the angel that gives you special instructions on whether or not you'll be going to heaven or going to hell, totally removing the idea that there's free will in Islam. Which means in that which goes back to 40 days. I don't care if it goes back to 40 seconds. An embryo is never blood and never a blood clot ever. Man. Listen, man. I'm not a doctor, and I don't know these things. You don't have to be a doctor. All you have to know is that embryo is never, as the Quran and Sahih, authentic Muslim have it, blood clot. For a blood clot is dead and useless blood. It will make good fertilizer for growing plants, though, I must admit. What I know is no contradiction between the verse and the hadith. Thanks for admitting that. However, for you admitting that, you damn the credibility of the Quran. For again, a blood clot is never an embryo, and vice versa, not even for 40 seconds. Because hadith was misunderstood. So, again, what part of the constituents of one of you are collected for 40 days in his mother's womb in the form of blood? After which it becomes a clot of blood in another period of 40 days. What is there to misunderstand? I mean, really, what part of the constituents of one U.S. collection of 40 days in his mother's womb in the form of blood, after which it becomes a clot of blood in another period of 40 days? Well, not that it's all in one 40 days. It says in another period of 40 days. What do you not understand? What is there to misunderstand here? What? Because of the translations and the language, it said in that, so people didn't know what in that is going back to the 40 days or what. If so, then how come so many Sunni Muslim websites of Sahih Authentic Muslim Book 33, number 6590, have it as the constituents of one of you are collected for 40 days in his mother's womb in the form of blood, after which it becomes a clot of blood in another period of 40 days? How come? Did those evil Jews pay the Sunni Muslims to have it that way to make Muhammad sound like a scientist of caveman times? Well, so I have searched, and it's not contradiction with the verse. Well, again, thanks for admitting that. However, for you admitting that, you damn the credibility of the Quran. For again, an embryo is never a blood clot, not even for 40 seconds. You want to learn Arabic, then welcome, or else you can't teach me my own language. I tell you what. See how much time do I have left here? I got time. I tell you what. You tell me where to go on the net that has Sahih Muslim Book 33 on the net. You copy and paste that and put it here so I can see if it matches with where you sent me. Then I'll put it through Google Translate for all to see, to observe for myself, if all these Sunni Muslims are wrong in their saying Sahih Muslim, as the constituents of one of you are collected for 40 days in his mother's womb in the form of blood, after which it becomes a clot of blood in another period of 40 days. Okay? That another really seems to nail it, that he's lying about, oh, it's all in 40 days. So 40 days doesn't mean blood only. Well, again, if so, then you tell me where to go on the net that has Sahih Muslim Book 33 on the net. You copy and paste that and put it here so I can see if it matches with where you sent me. Then I'll put it through Google Translate for all to see, to observe for myself if all these Sunni Muslims are wrong in their having Sahih Muslim, as the constituents on one of you are collected in 40 days in his mother's womb in the form of blood, after which it becomes a clot of blood in another period of 40 days. Okay? And the verse was proven as correct by science, as I did show. You showed me nothing. All you showed is that some guy is trying to say the Quran means it's like a clot or like a clean substance. But as you said, the Sahih that says 40 days as a blood clot doesn't say like. It says the constituents of one of you are collected for 40 days in the form of blood, after which it becomes a clot of blood. Not like a clot of blood. It says becomes a clot of blood in another period of 40 days. No mention of like. And you can watch the debate between Zakir Naik and Dr. William, as he tried to do as you claim and prove Quran wasn't correct, but he couldn't. Couldn't prove what? That is like? That it's like, or as Sahih Book 33 has it. The constituents of one of you are collected for 40 days in his mother's womb in the form of blood, after which it becomes a clot of blood in another period of 40 days. Again, there's no place where it says like a blood clot, like the title of Surah 96. It doesn't say like the clot. Surah 96 is simply called the clot, not like the clot or like the cleaning leech-like substance. Yeah. He showed an image from the other side to show Quran is wrong. You can read more here. I didn't read it because I'm a little busy, but they answer your claims. And then gives me something to say. Well, I'll check it out, okay? Still, though, if it says like a leech instead of how Sahih Muslim has it, I'll know the guy is lying. And anyway, if you don't like that, then you still have the expanding universe and talking ants and many more. How many you can reject? Oh, I believe ants, quote, talk through chemical orders, but I don't believe they talked with Solomon like the Quran says. For how did the ants know who King Solomon was? And what is the odor of an ant that spells out Solomon for an ant to know it's Solomon? What are the chemical combinations to spell out for an ant? Oh, ants, enter your dwellings, that you not be crushed by Solomon and his soldiers while they perceive not. By the way, the ant says, oh, ants. I thought saying oh before a name or subject was an Allah thing to say. Is this an admission that ants are like Allah? Oh, I better stop it here. Yeah, all right.